How's it going, Steven? Can you hear me fine? Or can anyone hear me? Just want to double check the mic's working. Beautiful. How's it going, guys? Rudy, were you here last week? I don't know if I remember seeing your name. Well, you know, I'm good. I was actually just reading over some of the answers from the worksheets that I gave my students for episode 1 of this game. Well, welcome, Rudy. It's nice to have you. We'll get started in a minute, but I want to, since we'll be talking about how I teach with this game, I want to just share one of the things my students wrote about it. So I had 2 weeks ago now, I asked them how did the player's choices compare with other people who played the game, and what kind of hero is the player trying to make Batman, since you can kind of... I mean, do you go over the answers with your students, Dave? If we have time on the following week, yeah, we'll talk about some of the answers that the students provided. If there's time, it's hard to find time that everyone can meet at the same time, and schedules are kind of up in the air right now. But when I asked how the player's choices compared to other people, this student wrote the player choices compared with other people that played the game, then the choices and now they are English language learners, so if the grammar is not perfect, don't worry. Many of their choices agree with Batman's choices in the game. They were agreeing with the optimal decision for the wellness and safety of the protagonist. The player is trying to make Batman the type of hero who just hurts when it's necessary, but better with supportive evidence why he's making those choices. It's why Batman was investigating evil incidents and leading to act as a hero in the game. Alright, so last week I was talking about how my student is trying to make Batman not such a brute, right? He's not trying to hurt people where it's not necessary. He is trying to make Batman a more, like, proper vigilante, where using pain as a last resort to force people to get the information that he wants. Alright, well, I think we can get started. So today we're going to play episode 2, which my students played last week, and some of their answers to the questions that we're talking about here that I might bring up as we play through. So, start episode 2, Children of Arkham. I like how it's kind of like a TV show where they have the previously on every week.
Revolution is knocking on Gotham's door. When this whole thing starts, make sure you're on the right side.
Hermits, what's going on?
Mr. Wayne, thank you for opening your house to us. Together, we will change Gotham.
For the other people in the chat, Hermits is actually one of my students who's playing through the game with us right now.
Not interested.
He already played through this, but I guess he wants to see it again.
Carmine Falcone? Is the Dent campaign soliciting votes from Gotham's biggest crime family?
So you could also ask him questions in the chat and not just me. And he'll have to answer you. I'll make it a part of his grade.
Don't you know not to corner a wild animal? It's dangerous. I bet.
The chemicals. Where are they?
We're all being played here, including you.
So Hermits, you'll notice that as we're playing through it here, I'm trying to make some choices that are different from what we did in class to see how the story changes. So you can actually contribute and talk about how it looks differently than what you saw.
The Waynes! are the biggest gangsters in Gotham.
So yeah, Rudy, my students are trying to play it, or the student who's playing it and streaming it is trying to make it so Batman's not so violent, which means that I'm going to try and steer in the opposite direction as him, since we're trying to figure out how the game sort of changes depending on your dialogue choices. Since the whole point of playing through the game is so that students can see how different choices in dialogue affect the overall narrative. He's killing old pregnant people? What? You're killing me over here. Hello, Brenton.
You don't have to do this.
Only you now, Master Bruce.
Can't have a Batman story without showing his parents die, right?
I thought I might find you here. The news was upsetting for both of us. But you should see this.
Oh, Brenton, you have to tell me how that went.
I know you come.
You can tell me here, you can message me on Twitter. There's even a place on my website, on Hey Listen Games, where you can, there's a forum where you can share how that lesson went, which I would love for you to do.
Public and messy.
People are throwing stones at my family, Alfred. I need to understand why.
It's my family too.
You're the first other teacher besides myself who I know who has used that game in particular, so I'm really curious as to how that went with your students.
I hoped it would never come.
Forget the papers. I want to hear it from you.
I love the Stanley Parable. It's one of the funniest games I've ever played.
They were billionaires, Bruce. You can't amass that kind of wealth without making certain moral compromises. It's just not possible. That kind of money taints you.
My money has never corrupted me.
And I'm proud of you. But you're hardly the norm. Hill greased the wheels of politics. Falcone was the muscle. Thomas legitimized the whole enterprise with his name. Your father, Hamilton Hill, and Falcone, they were partners.
I know this episode's going to deal a lot with morality and whatever, making choices that are moral. So some of the questions that I am having my students answer during this episode is about the choices made by Bruce throughout the chapter.
Your father was a good man in many ways, but this was his undoing. I want you to know, I had my suitcases ready. I couldn't stand to be around your father anymore. But then they were killed, and you were all alone. And I just couldn't walk out the door. Everything I did, everything I've ever done, was out of love for you.
But how do you guys feel about this portrayal of Bruce's parents, that they were actually bad people? Because I know in the comics and other mediums, that's usually not the case.
How could I hold this against you? You're all I've got, Alfred.
Thank you. I won't let you down again. This is the first time I've been back here since that night. When the
Why don't
police
you like
called
it?
me to collect you, I thought they'd finally arrested your father. I couldn't believe a low-life thug like Joe Chill would have the audacity to rob and kill Thomas Wayne. He was simply too well known. Too big. Yet, there it was.
He got careless. Criminals always do.
You always said it was a simple mugging. In 20 years, you've never wavered from that story.
It's definitely more true to life. I don't know how many billionaires are
vivid detail.
Pure souls that got their fortune without taking advantage of other people.
Sometimes we block out things we don't want to face.
I could see how a communist would love this portrayal.
Maybe there was some detail I overlooked.
I should ask my students that, since we went over economic systems this year and went over the differences between capitalism, communism, and socialism.
I want him standing here, right now.
And what would the Batman do with his own parents' killer? The possibilities are frightening.
I'd only want to ask him one question. Why? My parents could have given him anything. Why would he just shoot them?
He was stabbed to death in prison. No one mourns for Joe Chill, Bruce.
What's going on, Sangre?
He just wanted to protect us.
He thought he was invincible. Sadly, he was mistaken.
Oh, it's just too bad he wasn't honest as well.
He had his
Oh yeah, about the
flaws,
economic
yes.
system. So recently,
more than anyone
before
should be
schools
able to
closed, one of
appreciate
the
that he was a
things I did a little bit
complicated
earlier in
man.
the year, going over different economic systems, I altered the rules of Monopoly to fit different economic systems, and communism was one of the ones we went over, where I would change the rules, and like, so for capitalism, different kids were placed in different social classes and whatnot.
At that theater.
Went really
How
well.
long did it play there?
Only when you wanted to see it, Bruce.
Usually I
Your
just teach
mother
it
arranged the special screenings
with video games
personally.
when I can, but Monopoly is
I
a
never
board
knew
game that I like to incorporate into my class at
She was
times.
always so good to me.
For those of you who are new, this game, I wasn't planning on ever teaching with this one, but since we're teaching from home, we wanted to find something
Where
more fun,
exactly
and
does
I
the
know a lot of my
memory
students
end?
like superheroes, so
With my father pleading
I went with Batman since we could talk
You
about
don't have to
how
do this.
dialogue choices affect narrative,
and the gunfires.
And after
and
that,
it's more fun. It's okay to try and
there are
make school fun
considerable
these
gaps
days
in
since
that
everyone's kind of just stuck at home.
Maybe. Do I really want to know?
Stay back!
Take whatever you want.
And Bruce, just business. He told me you had it coming.
You don't have to do this.
No judging here. I'm probably more of a socialist myself anyway.
Don't fuck on me. He's making a mistake.
The pearls? Do we get the pearls? They're the bloody tickets that he keeps on his counter in the Batcave. The biggest takeaway? It's the first game that I've done with dialogue choices in this capacity, so what's cool is that the student who's playing it online,
Bruce, are you all
right, he's trying to imprint himself, right? He's
Wasn't a mug.
a gentleman, quote unquote,
were
so he wants to be a nicer
assassinated.
guy, he wants to be a nicer vigilante, but he
Conrad
will
Falcone
also
knows
pull the
why.
class. So sometimes when there's a big choice being made, he'll ask the people in the chat what decision he should make, which I think is cool. That way there's a group decision making around morality and not just one person dictating how to move through the game.
But getting you in to see Falcone like this, I don't have to tell you how many rules we're breaking. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm always here for you.
Yeah, I
This
kind of wish
could
that
land
was
us
an option
both
as
in
well,
hot water.
especially for
I pulled all the
my
strings I
students
had
who are
with the
English
lieutenant.
language learners.
This better not come back
It
to
could be
bite us.
hard for the student playing to read everything
You owe me, Harvey.
in enough time, and then if you don't, sometimes he
Donations,
just doesn't have the
not
chance to
loans.
choose
You're not
something.
entitled to a pound of flesh.
Hell, I'll settle for a handshake and a blind eye.
The last time we brushed shoulders with Falcone, the press made us pay.
I haven't played Detroit Become Human, but
At
a lot of
least
people have
tell
actually
me what this is
recommended that
about.
that's something I should check out. in terms of
I'm
teaching,
all for blind support.
incorporating into some
I should
kind
at least
of
know what I'm
civil
getting
rights
myself
unit.
into.
I'm not sure, but I think Falcone put a hit on my parents.
Wait, what? Bruce, that's terrible.
That's why I have to speak with him. I have to know for sure.
Bruce, I appreciate you opening up to me, but just try and keep it cool in there. I don't want any headlines taking away from my debate with Hill.
Dent, Mr. Wayne, welcome to the GCPD.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
Now, ordinarily, we'd never let you in to see
Yeah,
Falcone,
I've heard a
but
lot of mixed reactions to it. A lot of people really love it. A lot of people think it's a little bit too on the nose.
Bend the rules whenever you need it.
But I think it could be a good game to compare to other, like, traditional texts or nonfiction texts that would be used in the classroom.
Well, it's lucky your interests
And students would be able to critique whether or not it's a fair or accurate portrayal of slavery and other issues of human rights violations.
Get off again.
He's not getting off the hook, Renee. Not this time.
Mr. Wayne, Sergeant Renee Montoya. I just wanted to say, some of us police support you, despite what the media is saying.
Thanks, Sergeant.
We had to put Falcone in the infirmary. Batman practically tore him in half. He's helped us a lot in the past, but if you ask
that's
me,
how Telltale shades their games.
Batman is a monster. That freak does more harm for Gotham than good.
I'm starting to think you might be right. It isn't the first time either. Nearly ripped a guy's arm off at the docks.
Pretty much all Telltale games look exactly
At
the
least
same.
someone's getting tough on these guys. I tell you, I'd rather have Falcone in here than out on the street.
You weren't there, Harvey. You didn't see it.
Keep the questions coming, guys. If you have questions about how or why I teach with this game or just video games in general, because I love sharing all my thoughts and strategies and ideas, since I know it's kind of a new way of teaching in schools. And a lot of people still think video games have no place in schools or in education in general. Children of Arkham.
The hell? Bruce Wayne. You must have some clout. My own wife can't get in to see me. Good thing I'll be out of here in a week.
You look like you tangled with the wrong guy.
Gamification has definitely been a huge part of education.
This bad since before
which is, gamification is more like gamifying the learning experience, where you turn learning into a game where students can get points, they can get rewards for completing different tasks or quests and whatnot. And yeah, that's a huge industry right now. Bringing in video games is more like game-based learning, which is a little different. It's not necessarily gamifying the learning experience, it's just using games as text in the classroom, right? So,
2 killings.
The questions and handouts that I'm still making traditional handouts for students to answer when playing a game like this. And they're not getting any types of points in class for completing this activity. They just get their normal grade.
I should have spelled it out.
But we're using a video game as a text in lieu of just a book or a short story or a poem.
Tough guy, eh? There's not much left if you came for a piece of me. Your father, Hill, and me, we ran this city.
Classcraft is gamification. It's like turning your classroom into a video game, and you can create different quests and different
think through it.
Like storylines that students move through, and they can get different like avatars that they can upgrade equipment on as you give them rewards or like loot for completing whatever you did in a class. So I've gone to professional development meetings around Classcraft. I've never actually used it myself because I haven't done much of gamification on my end.
Of course, you'd never know the truth.
So here I chose to hurt Falcone because my student chose not to.
What kind of son did he make?
I need you alive, but only until I have answers.
apple didn't fall far, did it? You got that Wayne seed. He loved you, you know. He did it all for you. He protected his own. And if you got on his bad side, your father was more ruthless than any of us. He had a switch, you know. Still, made us all rich, including you. Some people just have the mind for it. He was one of the most brilliant men I ever knew.
I hardly remember anything about him.
I know Class, what's the other one? Class Dojo is another gamification tool that a lot of students in or a lot of teachers in elementary and middle school use.
You still had him killed.
What, you really think I ordered the hit? Sure, I worked with Joe Chill from time to time. Put a button on someone, he'd take him out. But I never ordered that hit on your parents.
So who did?
You can't trust anyone in Gotham. Least of all those you call friend. Your parents learned that.
They're waiting for you in hell!
Montoya, no!
The bastard had to die!
That returning to publication. I definitely want to read that when it comes out.
Get a doctor! Secure this floor! No one gets in or out! Go! Go!
Yeah, I don't necessarily like harming other people in this game. I'm just doing it just to see what's different from my students.
We are in deep shit. I bought us some time, but not much.
Right, Tim, I totally agree, because I specifically stay away from, like, educational games, because I don't want to trick my students in learning, so I like, all the games that I bring in is usually
I hardly recognized her when she burst in.
A standard entertainment commercial game that, like this, that can just be repurposed to support what you're already teaching in the classroom, right? We don't need to find ways to trick our students into learning. We just need to meet them where they are. And using a game like Batman can meet our students where they are.
1,000 unnamed victims. And now it is a PR disaster. How can I run against corruption when our own cops are redecorating the precinct with their prisoners' brains? Listen, we gotta get out in front of this. We gotta spin it as best we can. Issue a statement saying that we have the shooter in custody. Details are still coming in and that we're investigating. The usual.
Someone planned this for a reason.
Even if that's true, the simple fact is she gunned him down in his hospital bed.
Lieutenant, Mr. District Attorney.
Harvey will remember that.
Oh, Christ. I can
Which
delay
side
them
of
for
Harvey?
a little while, but we still need answers.
Tell me if she says anything. I
No,
have to know why she
that
did
doesn't
this.
make sense, Gordon. I'm Bruce Wayne. I'm not. You don't know I'm Batman. I'm just the guy here. You should not leave me
Alfred,
in an intimidation room with the suspect.
Good God.
I'm looking into it, but
You should not be in the room.
anything I find.
Connection secured.
Alfred, I'm gonna try and confirm some suspicions of mine.
I do like this game, but there are moments like this where I can't suspend my belief too much.
Her veins, still visible beneath her skin. Fresh injection site. That doesn't look like blood. Alfred, I think I found the substance. Analyze and forward me the result.
Of course. I'll be in touch as soon as I have the results.
Thank you, Alfred.
Where am I?
And we'll have this completely unqualified citizen, do an interrogation.
What's going on? Oh, but I got this awful feeling something terrible happened.
It's not good, Sergeant. You shot Falcone.
I did what? No. God, it's true.
I believe you were drugged, Sergeant.
It would explain a lot. Listen.
Realize Bruce looks a lot like
you
Archer
have to believe
right
me.
now.
I talked big about hurting thugs like Falcone, but I would never betray the lieutenant.
I trust you, Montoya. I like Gordon too.
I remember a sharp pain.
There's an injection site on your neck.
Then I just felt light, like I could do whatever I wanted. No
I
guilt,
agree, Mystery Bacon. America
no
loves. Well,
consequence.
I'd say half of America now
There
loves
was a
billionaires.
voice
The other half
in
is
my
like
ear
vehemently
insisting
against them.
Falcone was gonna get off, and all I knew was that I had to stop that.
We did an entire
I had
unit
to,
on like what,
matter what.
it means to be a billionaire and how much
Reasons why I
money that
should've.
actually is.
They were a million miles away.
Like you were hypnotized? Under some mind control?
Not mind control, more like my impulse control was gone. My anger was the only thing that mattered.
I like Elon Musk like half the time, and then the other half of the time I
hand
think
on
he's a
my
complete
arm.
moron. I don't really know
Guiding me
what I truly think of
like
that
a
guy.
parent with a child. The voice, it was saying something about revolution.
Right now I don't like him because he's trying to force people to go back to work when we're not really sure that conditions are safe yet.
I'm so sorry, Lieutenant. I've let you down.
We stalled Falcone's lawyers for now, but they'll be back. So how is she? Did she tell you anything?
Yeah, hey, don't worry about that now.
I found evidence that she was drugged. A fresh injection site on her neck.
I was out of my mind, Lieutenant. Please believe me.
He wouldn't put numbers in the kid's name. He would just make him another Robin.
Hey, get forensics in here. Now!
She remembers a voice saying something about revolution.
That's not much to go on.
How many Robins were up to? There's like 6 of them?
If you're bringing forensics in, let's get Bruce out.
Alfred, I gotta get back to the manor. I've got a lead on whoever's behind this.
Bruce!
I think only Damien is his son.
What are you doing here? My friends in the GCPD have been telling stories about some kind of lockdown?
I'm sorry, Vicky. I don't have time.
Don't brush me off. Word is there were shots fired near where Falcone was being held.
There's also
Know anything
two
about
girl
I mean, you must
Robins,
have been
though,
back there when
I
it
think.
happened.
Where did you get that?
So
What's
it's
the
true?
one from the Frank
No, I
Miller
didn't say that.
series
Listen,
in The Dark Knight
I owe you
Returns?
for those
What's her
files
name?
on
I'm
Falcone.
Cassie?
I got a lot
Casey?
of credit at the Gazette for that story.
Cassandra? I'm
Whatever's
completely
going on
blanking out
here,
on her name.
You can't afford to be associated with it. Let me help you. I can keep your name out of whatever we print, but you need to give me something I can use. Who fired the shots? A cop? I can tell by the way you're brushing me off that something happened. Just
I'm gonna be
give me
honest
something to
because
run
my
with.
student said that he doesn't have time for it.
A police sergeant.
Even though I didn't
Renee
want to say
Montoya.
this.
Wait, Sergeant Montoya.
You didn't get this from me.
I feel bad for saying that, but I want to see what changes. What's her name? Someone look up her name because it's driving me crazy. I need to know that Robin's name from The Dark Knight Returns. I haven't read the recent Super Sons comics, but I did read a bunch of the more Superman Rebirth comics, and a couple of the Batman Rebirth comics, and I do like the dynamic between Jonathan and Damien.
Either way, I need to find him. Let's put
Carrie
our drones in the air
Kelly.
and start a search.
Kelly's the last
I'll
thing,
run a
got it.
trace
Thank
on
you.
his cell. In the meantime, we have to find out what we can do about this drug.
The computer's been analyzing the chemicals from Montoya's bloodstream.
Throw that up on the monitor. The residue I scanned on Montoya is similar to the nerve agent I found at the docks. Let's see what we got.
It's ironic.
The old
that
trusty
Falcone
bat
died
computer.
at the hands of
I like that he
someone
actually
drugged
calls
with
it
his
the bat
chemicals.
computer in this.
Who'd have guessed that's how he'd meet his maker? Prone in his sickbed, surrounded by police who were ordered to protect him.
Falcone got off easy by getting killed. He deserved much worse.
Whoever did this was judge, jury, and executioner. No one should act as all three. I hope he told you something before he was killed. What did you learn from him?
Practically family, he said.
Family?
I've only read
Tony, I don't
the
recall any Sunday
original
dinners with the mob.
Dark Knight Returns comics. I haven't read any of the 2 and 3. I think there's one of the most recent trilogies just wrapped up.
Your father, Hill, and Falcone would have balanced each other out.
Computers pinpointed reference points on the 2 compounds.
I have a signed copy of the Dark Knight Falls, which is the issue where Batman and Superman fight each other, where they don't yell Martha at each other at the end.
This refined drug is like a weapon. It only took a small injection to strip Montoya of her moral filters and make her act on her base impulses. The men at the docks were doused with the base chemicals. The reaction was messy.
I don't believe the Riddler is in this game, but I think he is in the sequel game.
Both compounds seem stable, but
in Batman: The Enemy Within, which is the sequel to this game.
What could the creators of such a drug possibly have in mind? Fighting your wars is one thing, but drugging others to fight them for you...
With this drug, they can exploit anyone's baser impulses. The things they would otherwise
I'm still waiting for a good representation of Riddler in some more modern movies. But the last we got really was Jim Carrey, which was fun, but I want something more. 2020, not... When did that movie come out? 1990, early 1990s?
Find her now! Send a strong message.
Which movies are you thinking of, Potter? Batman vs Superman was okay. It's not my favorite. Well, the whole Snyder universe is not. Suicide Squad doesn't count. Come on. The other Snyder movies are not really my favorite, but they have their moments. I do like Man of Steel. That's fair. I did like Birds of Prey.
There you go. You'll be alright. Alright.
The Skyline Club. Jesus, didn't even wait for Falcone's body to get cold, did you?
Ewan McGregor was amazing. I loved him in the movie.
Bruce Wayne already tried talking with Cobblepot. It's time he met the Batman.
I'll refrain from any spoilers, but yeah, he was definitely one of my favorite parts of that movie. And I really loved Huntress in it. I thought she was hilarious because I wasn't expecting that at all. Mary Elizabeth Winstead, I think that's the actress's name. Someone would totally hear that.
You lot, come check out this office. Where is... I don't know! Please, names. Hey, you can help me, or...
Let him go.
Batman! It's about time. You kill a crime boss, you'd expect a word of thanks from Gotham's #1 vigilante. Oh, don't worry, I'll pass your gratitude on to those who made it happen.
I said let him go.
You hear that, Roland? That sounded like an order.
I'll crush him.
Now, have a little respect for the Bat. Think he
I
underestimates.
recall my student died a couple times in this scene.
Is this
Hopefully,
about Falcone?
I'm a little better.
We all saw how you felt about Falcone. Impaling a man on live TV. If you were truly the defender of this city, you'd have finished the
Okay,
job
so
yourself.
that piece of dialogue was changed.
Falcone deserved to die.
Not too much, but he does. You could either impale him or you could hang him up. And so what Cobblepot did say there does slightly change.
Personal experience.
I don't kill my enemies.
Maybe that's why you got so many. Might be time to reconsider. As a show of good faith, I'm gonna let this one go. How's about we talk this through? We helped you with Falcone. Now, if we could just cut out the rest of the rot, like Wayne and Hill, ordinary folks might be able to breathe.
What is it about this place that attracts criminal scum like you? You're going to attack the mayor? That's not going to happen.
Attack? Absolutely not.
I never actually played the Injustice games. I'm not the big outside of Super Smash Brothers. I'm not the biggest fighting game person, but
I actually admire you, Batman.
I've heard maybe I'll pick them up one day. I've heard they're great.
Me and my people, we've got big plans for Gotham.
They found Catwoman.
Oh, maybe I should do that too then.
We had a deal.
Just so I can know the story.
So sorry this didn't work out, mate. I'd stay to watch. I would, but I still got a Catwoman problem to deal with. Oh, what's her name again?
Selina.
Yes! Oh, beautiful name.
I never got into Street Fighter either. I've just been playing Smash since the N64. Oh, I died. I guess I'm just as bad as my student. F.
Alfred, track down Selina Kyle.
I'll find her right away.
Just got the trophy, a big fan. For me or for my students? I think I've only died 2 times. Once this time, once last time. My student has died a whole bunch of times. But he's playing PC, I'm not sure. The quick time events are harder in that capacity. What's going on, Space Cow? I like this scene a lot.
Is that Bruce Wayne?
No, it's not Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne wears suits, not sweats.
Did you hear? The cops were...
Didn't you see the game here, asshole? Are you blind or something?
My student was nice to this guy, so I'm gonna be mean.
I see a monkey with a stick. Is that what you mean?
What did you say? You got some nerve.
So I'm not actually using these streams in my class. I'm just here. So one of my students or a couple of my students might pop in here occasionally just to watch.
You want an autograph? I'll sign whatever.
But it's not a part of the curriculum in any capacity.
What the hell did you say?
Bruce, stop stirring
This
up the
is just
natives
more
and
so I
buy me a
can
drink.
see more. It's more so that I can just talk about how and why I'm teaching with the game, how it goes in class, and for this game in particular, how some of the different dialogue choices change depending on what we choose.
Profile.
Selina, I need to tell you something important.
Better be an apology. You were supposed to take care of our mutual
But I do think one of my
problem.
students is in the watching right now. He's not interacting much in the chat, but he is here.
Well, I've met a couple of his goons myself. Your client isn't one for subtlety. The man who hired you, his name
And you know,
is
sometimes
Oswald
they
Cobblepot.
can't. My students have their own schedule. Some of them are
He
working
goes
now.
by Penguin.
So if they can't be there at the time when we're streaming this, they can easily come here to see what they missed in
You
class.
should have just killed me on that rooftop. I'm dead anyway. When you screw someone over,
There you are,
really
Hermits.
screw
Hermits is my student.
the Penguin.
Penguin can't take on both of us, and I'm not going anywhere. Clearly
Hermits
you know
actually just
something
got
about him.
accepted to a college program where he's going to be going into video
I'm
game
surprised you
development.
never heard of him. He's a big deal across the pond. He's more
Oh,
dangerous
answer that
than
question carefully. I will fail you for the year if you say anything bad about me.
you don't know what you're getting into.
I've seen his rap sheet. Just a string of petty crimes, nothing major.
Just kidding, you can be honest.
He's good at covering his tracks. No one gets to his level without knowing how to keep a low profile. Besides, you really think there's another guy going by Penguin? The question is, why Gotham? Why now? It's not like he's hurting for crime syndicates abroad. Why leave that?
He stole mind-altering chemicals from Falcone.
Drugs aren't really Penguin's M.O.
Well, maybe he's branching out.
Hermits, be honest.
Well, I'm not sticking
Tell them
around to find out.
what kind of teacher I am.
Penguin is about to unleash God knows what on the city. You can't just leave.
A good reason not to be here when he does. You want to stay? That's your choice.
I need you, Selina.
That right?
If Penguin is as deadly as you say, I need all the help I can get.
Bruce, sweetie, the gallant knight thing, it really is adorable. But what would Harvey think? The two of us.
Selena's
working
always great.
together. After all.
Although I'm still
not
kind
really
of
an all
peeved
work
about
and
the
no
whole
play
wedding
kinda girl.
nonsense debacle
Harvey
in the
knows
comics
that.
recently.
I'm sorry, why are we talking about Harvey?
He's your friend, isn't he? Just seeing how much of a conscience you really have.
Ooh, that's cool.
You and I
I get to be number one at something.
Don't wreck my bar.
Well, Bruce, you were right.
Selina Kyle, Penguin says hello.
A lot of the face mapping in general is a little odd in this game. Straight out of the comic book or movie. Turn on the music.
We're here for her. If you care about your own skin, you'll get the hell out.
Gentlemen,
My student
please.
just punched him
Sit.
immediately, so...
Have a drink. Let's work
talk
this
a
out
little
like
bit.
civilized people.
We're done talking.
This guy's hair is ridiculous. See if this was like the TV show Arrow, the first episode when Oliver killed a bunch of people. He killed them because no one could know he knows how to fight.
Not done yet.
I always like these tag team fights. In movies, TV, games, anything in general.
I think they want more.
Then let's give it to them.
That's true, so I have been streaming here for Geeks Like Us, but I am a teacher, but I also created and founded the website Hey Listen Games, where
You're such a pretty boy.
I put up all my curriculum and lesson plans and handouts and slides that I use when I teach with video games, and it's all up there for free because I know that these resources don't really exist. So I want to make them available for any teachers or educators who are interested in using video games in their classrooms. And I blog about my experiences teaching with games and providing rationales for why I choose specific games. So I do a lot of writing on the website if you want to stay up to date on that.
Quick, check the alleyway!
You see anything?
Negative. Let's check the other side.
Probably What Remains of Edith Finch. If Hermits is there and is willing to talk in the chat, I know he might be a little bit shy. I teach with it in my ELA class, and the students love it. Now here, my student did not kiss her because he wanted to be a gentleman, so I'm going to do the opposite.
Let's get out of here.
Oh, but she still says no. Okay.
I'll take the rooftops.
Yeah, What
You take
Remains of
the alley.
Edith Finch, the reason I do it is because...
Wait.
The game is told through a series of vignettes as you learn about different members of the Edith Finch family.
When will I see
And it's great to talk about
When
different
you least
literary
expect
elements and rhetorical devices that the developers and writers use in the game.
You shouldn't trust me, you know.
And it's one of the most unique games I've ever played. And it's a walking simulator, so it's mostly just walking around and interacting with the house and the environment. So the controls aren't difficult, so even people who are not familiar with video games or people who don't play video games often can easily hop in and get the hang of it very quickly.
Processing it now. Is everything all right? There are quite a few police cars convening on your location.
But I also like to teach with Gone
That's
Home,
fine. Has the
which
back
is a
computer
similar
found anything
walking
yet?
simulator type game. That's more just because I think the story and narrative of Gone Home is probably one of the more meaningful and impactful ones of the past decade.
I gave you everything I have on Wayne. I've held up my end of the bargain, and I expect you to do the same.
This is very shady indeed. Whatever they're talking about, it doesn't sound good.
I should have guessed. Hill's working with Penguin. If Hill's talking to Penguin, he must know something. It's time I paid him a visit.
I agree. The mayor must have answers, but if I may offer a word of advice. The whole world was horrified at what Batman did to Falcone. You terrorized the mayor too. You could lose Gotham's goodwill completely. Then again, Batman's methods would certainly get him talking immediately. Bruce would have to depend on his guile to loosen Hill's lips.
So my students chose to visit as Batman, so I'm going to visit as Bruce. And I know one of my students wanted to visit as Bruce, but she was outvoted, so we went as Batman.
Going as Bruce is the smart choice.
Go as Bryce. Actually, I'm going to pause the game, and I want to read. So one of the questions that I asked my students this episode is that episode deals a lot with morality and what it means to be Bruce Wayne Batman. And I asked them, looking back, do you think the player made correct decisions as Bruce Wayne or Batman? If so, why? If not, what would you have done differently? And I want to read the student in particular's response, the one who wanted to go as Bruce. So she said, I feel like Bruce Wayne made good decisions, yet there was a decision I felt that he should have anticipated was being Bruce Wayne and not Batman, because my students had chose to do this scene as Batman, right? It's when he's going to Mayor Hill's office. If he had gone as Bruce, it could have affected his identity less in front of the press, right? He may have also introduced himself in a polite manner to see what information about the plan comes out that way, instead of going as Batman and being intimidating. Father and son hermits. How much older do you think? How old are you? Aren't you 20?
Sorry, the mayor's busy. Do you have an appointment?
For the record, I'm 28, so I don't have kids.
Can't be disturbed right now. Excuse me, Mr. Wayne?
You're really telling me that Bruce Wayne needs an appointment?
But the mayor...
We'll be fine. And if he fires,
but thank you,
Hermit.
I love hearing that. I'm good at building relationships with students. Hermits comes to me a lot,
Wayne.
asking for advice.
Finally, you've come
especially
to see me.
With college up and coming,
Of
because
course,
hermits
only
might,
after name's been dragged
while
through
wonderful,
Don't get me
might
wrong.
be a little
I'm glad
bit
to
of a
see you,
lazy student
but you're a day
come
late and a
time to
great
time.
many dollars short.
We can be friends, Hill. I'd like us to put aside our differences.
It's easy to ask for peace when you've already lost the war. But I won't be the one to deny a fresh start. Your father and I, we took this city and made it ours. Falcone too, rest his soul. We built everything we have. You were born with it. A soft boy like you wouldn't understand what it takes to rise to the top.
Oh, I understand.
Soft
Very
boy.
well.
I definitely need to do a quick time action for that.
I've held up my end of the bargain, and I expect you to do the same.
Sounds like me.
So this
It
student
is.
hermit, the one who just gave me the glowing endorsement,
So?
was
your
actually
point?
on the panel
it
that I
you have-
hosted at PAX East
Or are
recently.
you
He was
just
one of the students
fond
that took
of
with
my
me to speak on the panel about learning with video games.
You're working with Oswald Cobblepot and his thugs.
Working with them? They're a bigger threat to order than those masked freaks.
And he did a
I'm in
great job.
Cobblepot's crosshairs, same as you.
But you fed them dirt on me.
Only the files I seized from Wayne.
I actually just applied to host a similar panel at New York Comic Con for October. But obviously we're not positive that that convention will still be on, especially since I'm in New York City and
took his family's land.
it's been
Oswald's
coronavirus
family
here
signed
pretty
it over
hard,
to us,
so we'll
along
see,
with the
but
rest
it'd
of
be
their
cool if I could bring 5 more students to another panel to speak about learning with video games.
Even if that's true, it's no excuse for Cobblepot's crimes.
I quite agree. It doesn't hurt to understand your enemy's motives. There's so much more I could share, if only we were friends. I could help you deal with Penguin.
It's a
Let's lean on some
possibility,
family history. But I'm caught in a dogfight for my political career.
which I would still be
My
down to do if they
rival
accept my
bottomless
submission.
pockets. Now, if that rival were to say, drop out, or his advertising spend were to dry up, I might have a lot more resources for helping a new
Right
friend.
now, I don't want to do this. My students said not a chance. So I'm going to say I could do that, but I definitely don't want to.
Fine. That's what it takes to earn your friendship.
I knew you'd see the light. It's time we really talked. Power is an old oak. The trunk stands strong, but it's the roots that hold it up. And the thickest of them lead to Arkham.
Arkham Asylum.
So New York
Your
Comic Con actually
father and
has
me, Falcone,
a professional day for
used it to
educators
get
and
our
librarians
enemies out of the
hosted at the
way.
New York Public
Drugged
Library,
and declared them
which is
insane.
where I would want to
It
host
made
this
it
panel
easy
since
to
it
take
is more of
their
an
things.
educator focus, in which
Thomas
case
was
it
the
would
doctor.
be a more
I leveraged my political power to ease the transfer of assets.
like low-key crowd,
Falcone was the muscle.
like probably only
He had his own
30
way of making
to 50
problems go
people
away.
instead of like potentially
So
several
that's
hundred.
what Oz wants to punish me for.
His mother was one of our last patients. You can hardly expect him to think rationally. Gotham was chaos before we took control. At least now there's a semblance of order. Listen, Bruce. Now that we're back on the same side, your father's last gift to me, they're yours. The keys to the city.
Thank you.
This is cool.
Call me Hamilton. Penguins gathered.
So this
quite
did
a
not
few
happen
victims
with
to
my
his
students because they went as Batman and were just being super
But that's a
intimidating to
problem
him.
for another day. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to prep for the debate. My door's always open, Bruce. Next time, make an appointment.
Whatever deal you made with Penguin, he won't honor it.
Don't worry about me. He's not the first to take a shot at me.
Alfred, get a warning to Gordon. Tell him to increase security at the debate. Hill seems to think he's safe, but Penguin's still out there.
I think we're getting towards the end of this episode, probably another 20-ish minutes.
I wonder what else is on here.
As per your request, Lieutenant Gordon has tripled security at the debate.
Thanks,
Won't
Alfred.
help. It never helps in comics.
It's a plan of the old
Policemen
Monarch
just
Theatre.
get killed constantly.
The auditorium where the debate's being held. I hacked into the image feeds from the security cameras at the auditorium.
Just to be safe.
Just to be safe.
Hills, details about your father. They must have been quite upsetting. I can't imagine how you must feel.
To be honest, Alfred, nothing can shock me anymore. Not when it comes to my parents.
I wish I felt the same way. But I suppose no good can come from wallowing. The city needs you now more than ever.
Where'd that chair come from?
Leave you to it then.
Gotham District Attorney Harvey Dent appears to be hitting some potholes on his path to the
We get some
mayor's
optional
office.
stuff, I think.
Despite the backing of
Look
billionaire
here.
Bruce Wayne, rumors persist that the candidate is having trouble
Here,
paying his
so this
campaign
also.
staff and making ad buys. A
Game
Dent
where-
spokesperson said these rumors are nothing more than a smear tactic perpetuated by the incumbent Mayor Hill's campaign.
What'd you say there, Hermits?
In other
The game you
news,
learn the
nobody
most
goes
important
to
things. It
Gotham's
probably
dive
opened mine
bars
too much.
expecting a quiet night out. But police say a brawl tonight at the Stack Deck Bar in Otisburg was the rowdiest one in recent memory. Reports
Oh,
say
so Hermits, you
arrests were made,
almost
with all
remember what it said.
suspects
So
taken into
you can
custody
say that
while
people die by suicide, but you don't say
Police
that
are seeking
people
unidentified man and woman
commit
who were
suicide.
seen in conversation with the assailants shortly before
Right,
the
because
fight.
it's not like you're committing a crime. It's something that happens to you. It's not always a choice. I know we have some psychologists in the feed, so they might be able to touch on that a little more than I can. But yeah, so people die by suicide, but they're not actively committing something. They're not killing themselves. You know what I mean?
Perpetuated by the incumbent Mayor Hill's campaign.
In other news, nobody goes to Gotham's dive bars expecting a quiet night out. But police say a brawl tonight at the Stack Deck Bar in Otisburg was the rowdiest one.
Because there is a section in what remains of
images on
Edith
these
Fincher's
cameras
dealing with
haven't
suicide.
changed.
We read an
Something's
article,
wrong.
and I was bringing like
Penguin's
nonfiction articles
men
and
may have
text.
commandeered the cameras on
It's
their
featured
end.
alongside the game, so we read an article
just
about
be looking
teen
at
suicide,
What
and
they
in the
want us
article
to
it
see.
specifically
Warn
states
Gordon that
that
he may have visitors.
people are dying by
I have to
suicide.
get
It's
down
not
there.
they're not committing
now.
it. Yeah, I can imagine that being a tough lesson in class.
Harvey needs to get out
It's
of
kind of relatable. Not, it's somewhat relatable because when I teach, not every student's going to graduate, which sucks. Like, no matter what we do, it's tough to make sure that every student meets all the requirements that they need for graduation.
Something that's well, it's not exactly
So
pleasant.
you just kind of we have to accept that
your life is in danger.
I can't get my students to a 100% graduation rate. It's just not really
They have me in
a
some back
possibility,
room
especially
until the
teaching
debate begins.
in New York City with English language learners who need to not only meet all the requirements, they also need to learn an entire new language.
I need to get this off my chest.
And a lot of them are working
Bruce,
full time because the students are also
I didn't
overage.
wanna
Like
do
Herman,
this
for
over the
example, I
phone,
believe is 20, if I'm getting that right.
My advisors.
So he was already almost ready to graduate in his home country, and then he moved here and had to start over,
I need to distance myself from you
which can be really tough for a lot of people.
until all this mess with your family blows over. They're afraid it's not a very good optic. Ouch, Harvey. Talk about a sucker punch.
What with the allegations in the press, and now this mess with Falcone, you're a
Liability.
But here's the thing, Bruce.
Without your money,
I am dead in the water. I know this is a delicate topic, but I need you to keep me afloat.
I may have to trash you in public, but you and me, we'll know the truth about our friendship.
Almost 22, got it.
You've got some nerve, Harvey. Either we're a team or we're not. No, of course we're a team, Bruce. Of course we
My students decided to keep giving money.
Of the press.
Listen, I hate to push you,
But I need to know. Can I count on your money, Bruce?
whatever it takes to save Gotham.
The student said, of course. And I want to say, of course, but I'm going to say, forget it.
No, Harvey. You can forget it.
That's disappointing.
You have a good reason?
You really have to ask me that.
Yeah, I get it.
You don't owe me an explanation. Right. Well, look, I have to go. The makeup person is here. Guess they have to
put on my face.
Oh, that
Listen,
yeah,
I'm
that's
sorry we
that's
couldn't make this
unfortunate.
work out, Bruce.
Harvey.
Do you think it's possible for that student to make it up during the summer?
Batman.
Ooh, you see those
Yeah,
textures?
all quiet so
They
far.
didn't come in.
I've got a feeling that's about to change.
Just so we're clear, you and me, we're on shaky ground.
Jim, listen.
No, listen to me. The
What is that?
excessive violence, it can't go on. Most of the GCPD already think you're a monster. Don't prove them right.
I'm sorry for putting you in a difficult spot, Jim. I value our
got it.
working relationship.
So do I, Batman. That's why I need you to rein it in.
We have bigger things to worry about right now.
What was your internship?
Your security has
and
been
what is going on
compromised.
with my screen?
I've got patrols
What is
on
this
every
white
door.
stuff going all over the place?
You better check on them.
I'd keep that holstered if I were you.
What's she doing here? She was part of that robbery at the mayor's office.
Really? You're gonna drag out that dead horse?
I think she's mending her ways.
Oh, he's right, Lieutenant. I don't do the bad things anymore. Unless it's on request.
Oh, do you want to be a social worker in the future, Potter?
This better not come back to bite me. Alpha Patrol, come in.
That, incident in the bar. Dead is its own kind of cage. I can't stand being in it. Not that I needed your help or anything, but you had my back. I thought I'd repay the favor. You know, like you scratch my back, I cut some people up.
You don't owe me anything. Those scum had it coming.
And they say chivalry is dead.
None of my men on the ground are responding.
Enough waiting. We're going in.
Alpha, do you
The
read?
school I'm in now is,
Now, aren't you glad I'm here?
I wouldn't call it worse, but it's a Title I school, so it's a low-income area
I'll
as
give a
well.
better shot than my SWAT team of getting in there quietly. We are seriously underfunded at the GCPD.
Sounds like a vote for Dent, Lieutenant.
That's interesting. So they said that last time as well, but as my dialogue choices have been for anti-Dent, right? I just said that I'm not going to give him money, so that probably could have been a little bit better in terms of storytelling. But that also would have been something easy to change. It's just one line.
We'll soon head to the polls to decide the future of your home, a city that's faced its share of hardships in recent years. Rising crime rates, income inequality, and yes, a masked vigilante loose on our streets. Candidates will tackle it all.
Lots of heads getting smashed into walls in this game.
At least we know why they weren't responding.
Gordon, we found one of your patrols. They've been terminated.
Gotta wonder how many police officers are in this city, because they all
As you
die.
might have guessed, there's been a change to tonight's program. First order of business, firing the moderator!
I hate to be a downer, but these
I
hostages...
still don't think the Penguin should be
I don't like
British,
their
but
chances.
I do like this portrayal of him.
If we're quick and decisive, no one else has to die.
If you say so. But Penguin's playing for keeps.
Fanatics always do.
You'll do. Get out here. Keep it quiet back there.
These guys are armed to the teeth.
We need a new moderator.
Come on, you.
You there! Yes! You! Thank you for volunteering.
Please, no.
I think
Go
sometimes
on,
the eye
then.
animations are a
Introduce
little
the
funny
candidates.
in this game.
Stage fright, huh? All right, I'll get you started, but this is your show.
3 hostiles. Gotta take them out quietly.
I like these scenes where he plans his attack. And you get to choose like what to link him to, so you have different options of how you take him out. I'll link him to Catwoman.
And we'll see. Coin toss. Heads.
Smart.
First.
Heads.
What options do I have here? So here, the light stand.
Mr. Dent, the subject on everyone's mind is the new Wayne mental
That's
health.
the ceiling.
It's a much needed state-of-the-art mental health care hospital that will offer treatment for the most
And for this guy,
of Gotham citizens.
definitely the table.
The opening statements, Pillock. Rule 1, talk when I say talk, shut your gob when I say shut your gob. Easy. Rule 2, scratching, biting and kicking each other up all the time. Rule 3, always tell the truth. It hurts.
Ooh, breaks the table. This is cool. This whole fight looks completely different than when my suitors did it. Except that part was the same, where you step on a guy's head.
Keep your heads down. Make for the police line.
Yep, get out of here.
And now, a word from our sponsor.
I doubt you, brothers and sisters of Gotham. You have nothing to fear. We are the children of Arkham.
Alright, so this is kind of hit or miss. This is an original character pretty much created for the game.
Expose the corruption that's rooted in your city. For too long, Men like your esteemed mayor have profited from the pain of innocence.
Did you ever meet the guy on the screen?
Nope. Smart to let someone else do your dirty work.
Look into the hearts of these spineless creatures. Chosen to lead.
Go on, love. You know what to do.
Oh, we giving them drugs.
Candidates, take off your masks. Show Gotham your true selves. Tell them what you really think about the city you pretend to love.
Everybody in Gotham saw that moderator get shot on live TV. What's going on in there?
First off, we should incinerate the pool.
Exactly. And there's one decision that my students made that I'm gonna copy their decision, because I don't really want to do the other one. You'll know when I do it.
We're out of time, Batman. The press is going nuts with those two drunks on stage.
And what about the corrupt elite? They made fortunes of their own policy. Then I've got friend Bruce Wayne. You're crazy. Having another way when you don't want to see.
I mostly like how they portray Two-Face in this game.
Subject 9.
I thought your father was dead.
Subject 9, Esther Cobblepot. You've been declared criminally insane and committed to Arkham indefinitely as a ward of the state.
So I know they're trying to make Bruce's parents bad in this narrative, but I don't know if I buy that this would actually happen.
Give her the drug.
Thomas, we're friends. Our boys play together.
You were warned, Esther. You know I always get what I want. Commence the procedure. Give her a dose she won't come back from.
Right, people... I know it's a comic book, but like, there's a line where I'm willing to suspend my disbelief on something. Exactly, right? That would never happen.
Batman! You certainly know how to make an entrance.
Go!
Run away!
Why don't you kick the crap out of him?
That didn't work.
Please, I made a man.
You could never.
I took out Thomas Wayne. That was
Ah.
all him. He didn't
I
know
was trying
when
to be
stop.
friends with you earlier.
I had him killed because of it.
Get away from your back, my poor old mum. So this is for her.
Don't let you kill anyone else!
Right, your turn, Dent.
He did. That was actually good for a minute there.
Where's your mate, Bruce Wayne? Your biggest supporter, and he didn't even turn up. Batman! The revolution's already started! It's too late to join!
over
Your
Penguin.
revolution is over, Penguin.
On the contrary, we're just getting started.
Ooh, lucky shot to the goggles. So I'm going to be honest. Alright, so my students chose to save Selena in this capacity. And I know I've been saying that I'm going to choose different options. So I kind of want to continue saving Selena because I just like her more as a character. But what do you guys think? Should I save Selena or Harvey? Potter says Selena. What does someone else think? Let's get one more. No, alright, I guess I'm going Selena. That's nice and brutal.
Hold your fire, damn it!
Harvey.
Where's the maniac in the mask?
So you do get Two-Face either way. One of which is this, where you get his actual comic book Two-Face, where half his face is scarred and burned, and the other one is more not as intense. It's more like his eye is all messed up.
City Hall is in chaos after Mayor Hamilton Hill was
But how he reacts
dead.
to you, I believe, will be
Several
different.
members of the Children of Arkham have been arrested, the Penguin is still at
So
large.
if you don't save her, she gets shot and runs away. Right, and it can affect so either way you choose, it affects your relationship with whichever one going forward.
He won't be the same after this.
Meanwhile, the Wayne family
So Batman's relationship will now be different with Harvey going forward. Because I saved Selena, if we save Harvey, then Bruce's relationship with Selena going forward would have been different. But not vastly different. It's like this scene here would not happen if you chose to save Harvey.
Lawyers representing Bruce Wayne have no comment at this time.
We are the children of Arkham, and we have opened your eyes.
And that's the end of episode 2. Let's see how our choices stacked against others. Yes, most people chose to ease his pain, not to make him suffer. Most people tried to kiss Selena, obviously, even though my student did not. And then, so most people actually visit as Bruce. My student decided to go as Batman. And then most people continue giving him money. So my students did continue to offer him money. I chose not to this time around. And yeah, most people saved Selena instead of Harvey. Which both my students and we did here. So what do you guys think? What do you think of the game so far? I like it. It's not my favorite game in the world, but I think it's decent enough at telling the story. It's also the first Telltale game I've ever actually played. I haven't played any of the Walking Dead games. I do want to play The Wolf Among Us. Yeah, I kind of agree, Potter. It gets a little over the top at times. It gets a little almost too comic booky. I've heard that the sequel game is actually better overall than this first one. I want to play the Walking Dead ones, but it's such a commitment at this point to play through all. It's 5 seasons, right? It's just so much. Let's watch the preview for next time on.
Next time on Batman, the Telltale Series.
You may have saved me, but this isn't over. You don't know these people, Bruce.
Authorities are scrambling. The so-called Children of Arkham have the city in a frenzy, but there's still no sign of their masked leader. With Hill and Falcone
You would
dead
assume
by
they would
their
just shut
hands,
down Arkham
the
Asylum
question
at
on
this point,
everyone's
especially
lips is,
you crazy people called the Children of Arkham running around.
After that news about
causing
your
havoc.
father sending innocent people to Arkham, sounds like the whole city wants your head on a pike.
The Waynes have always run this company, but now they want to decide what your future at this company will be.
I haven't actually
Do
played
you
or
really
watched
think Bruce
the
Wayne is
sequel
worth protecting?
game, so I'm not sure what exactly the puzzles are like, but after this I'll probably go play it myself.
What do you want?
Or at least watch someone else play it.
You know